camera's rolling. We got a window. Ready? Yeah. 3, 2, 1, action. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's behind the scenes episode of the Stopwatch Collection. This week, we're taking a look at the making of our newest 1-minute short film, Let Us Run. And this week involved a lot of fun prop smashing, the return of an actor you might recognize, and a classic element of any great Los Matados production, a lot of running. Let's get into it.
I feel like I'm relating to the character or something. What's next?
I think Ryan's trying to imply that at some point we need to make a short film where we use his impressions.
Yeah, I would love that.
No! I'm not bad.
The inspiration for Let Us Run this week actually came from a verse in the Bible, Hebrews 12:1, which says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us." This verse has been on my mind a lot lately as it relates to a lot of different areas of my life, and as I was thinking about what I wanted to make for our 1-minute short film this week, my mind came back to this idea of running the race of life and shedding the weights that can so easily weigh us down. So that's how Let Us Run was born. It was very exciting this week to get to work once again with actor Ryan Aid, who you may recognize from our wild time travel film we made last summer called Kairos, which incidentally will be screening at Filmapalooza in Los Angeles in just a couple of days. This is our second film we've made with Ryan, and we definitely want to make more with him in the future, but I think I'm going to try to avoid continuing to typecast him in roles that involve a lot of running. On the topic of running though, one of the key elements of my vision for this film was that the camera would never stop moving, much like Ryan's character never stops moving. I thought this was an effective way to visually demonstrate the idea that life never stops, it never slows down, it's always inevitably moving forward, so it's just a matter of how many unnecessary things are going to weigh us down as we move through that race of life. So practically speaking, as we were filming this, that meant filming almost the entire film from a gimbal, so that way I could get very smooth and steady shots while running right alongside our actor Ryan. We did get a few handheld shots at the very end of the film, but the vast majority of it was shot on the Moza Air 2 gimbal. I was like, whoa, I don't want this. I said, I won't run up on you, and then I'm like, yeah. Running backwards is tough.
I can't. Sorry, I'm like tricking my brain a little bit because I'm acting like I'm struggling. And then you say cut, I'm like, I'm like, wait a second.
It was challenging to hold to this camera movement decision once we started smashing some of the props that Ryan was going to be pulling out of his backpack as he was running. It was pretty difficult to get a great shot of a bottle falling to the ground while moving, running more specifically, and while using manual focus lenses, all as a one-man cinematography team. So that was a little bit of a challenge this week, balancing those two distinct elements of the vision of this film, trying to find the balance between having the camera be continually moving, but also being able to get these really important, very dramatic shots of these things falling to the ground as he pulls them out of the backpack. So finding that balance was a tricky thing while shooting this film this week. Okay. Let's talk about the time limits for this series. If you saw last week's behind the scenes video, you know that we totally bombed the hour time limit for the shooting and editing phases. This week we did a lot better. We were able to both write and edit this film in an hour for each of those phases, but for the shooting we took about an hour and 20 minutes and ultimately had to stop because we were losing the light again. The limits we're giving ourselves may end up being tweaked a little bit, because while the writing phase has typically been able to fit in an hour, the shooting and editing phases have been extremely challenging to fit in just 1 hour for each of those segments of the process, even when just making a 1-minute short film. We want to find the balance of putting these limitations on ourselves to push our creativity and to get better within pretty stringent limits, but we also want to have the opportunity to make great films and not be so limited that we end up kind of getting stuck in a certain place where we're always making things of a certain quality level and not being able to push to a higher level. So let me know what you think about these limits. This is going to kind of be an ongoing thing over the next several weeks, trying to figure out where we're going to land with this series. But once again, this week, I want to acknowledge that we didn't quite finish the shooting within 1 hour. We're out of light, so that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Yay!
That's all for this week's Behind the Scenes. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you're enjoying this series of 1-minute short films that we're calling the Stopwatch Collection. Next week, we're going to be back with a very special episode as we're shooting our next 1-minute short film in a different state, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, remember, when you're making a film, every second counts.